And what was his response and reaction, if I may ask?
Yes, that was contained in our communique and a press release that we did after then. As at the time of that very press release, our investigation successfully identified and visited the locations of some of the projects, like I mentioned. However, a significant number of these projects remain untraceable. A town hall meeting. So I've reached out to them. I think I had a call a few days ago with Honorable Uche Harris Okonkwo, who said he will be coming into Anambra State, Oka precisely, to have a word with the active citizens about the ongoing projects that we're undertaking. So I think that they are reacting. However, the newly formed or the inaugurated CDC, because the Association of the Town Union, which is ASATU, they inaugurated the committee that should be in charge, which is the active citizens, to be in charge of monitoring where these project sites are in all the communities in Anambra State, and then partner these lawmakers to make sure that the details of the projects are provided by the contractors, especially the ones that they already facilitated, that is ongoing. Usually in these intervention projects, there are ones like the one of 2025 has not been dealt with, but the one of 2024, there are some of them that are new. Funds has not been disbursed through the relevant ministries, and there are ones that are already ongoing and ones that are completed. Like the one of the road I spoke about, 2 kilometer, it has the signboard has been placed there, which shows a sign of completion. However, it is not 2 kilometers that were done, but 50 meters. And we interviewed people around there, and they felt that even while they were doing that road, that they told them. When I reached out, as per your question, to Senator May, his aide responded that the project is still in progress. And my question to him is, if the road is for 2 kilometers and you have just done 50 meters and you say it's in progress, I can't see any payload there. I can't see anything. The job seems to have been completed. But if you say you are going to continue, is it within the raining season? Rain just started, today or a few days ago. So when is this going to happen? So I believe they are waiting to see whether much noise is going to be made or just the initial gra and everybody will leave. But since now ASATU is involved, which covers the entire 179 communities, then it means that action will be taken. Because as we speak, we are putting up subcommittee in every town in Anambra State. So with these subcommittees, they will be going on like they are the local police, the village police, that will go about checking for these projects wherever they are situated and then reporting it. So with that, I think we'll get their attention. When they don't, then we stop for the ongoing work we may have through the ASA to stop the work until they provide the details. Because what happens most of the time is that some of the projects are not really what they are, what they intend to do, or the scope of the project. Some might just do fence and stop it at that and then carry it over to the next budget. And another thing again that is very, very interesting is that ASATU has decided, which is, the obvious association of the whole town, has given us the node to go about collaborating with the president generals of all the old towns, so that these communities will now own their own projects starting from 2026 budget, so that before the end of before the third quarter of this year, the whole towns in Anambra State can now raise their own projects, which will be submitted to these senators and House of rep members who will now facilitate such projects. So it means that we are expecting that in 2026 budget, it will be coming from the people, not the ones inserted by the lawmakers.
Very, very interesting. Thank you so much for that. Now, I'm not a lawyer and I have very limited knowledge about the legal framework regarding the constituency project. But what I do know is this, it's federal funding, a kind of federal support for the constituents, right? And that fund, do you know if in any way these funds, if they are released directly to the senators or not? Are you aware? Do you know?
Yes, what I do know is this. We have from because we got all of this data and we know how it works from the National Assembly level. The legislators are not the people who funds are released to by by going it the correct way. So, but what happened is that these projects are inserted without the knowledge or the consent of these communities. One, so they don't even know which one is a constituency project and which one is not. Then, for the funding, the House of Rep members are acting as an oversight function on this because they are the one representing the people. So, by the way, this project go to them at the National Assembly level, where their committees stand to make sure that all their constituent projects are carried along, which obviously is televised even in the national televisions where they debate. Like in 2024 budget, we know what happened to Ningi, Senator Ningi, the about 3 or 4 trillion that was inserted in the budget and all of that. So those are the insertions I'm talking about. But coming to the question directly, the funds are not released to them. But what they do is this: they use a default company, whether the one that belongs to them, their friends, cronies, as the case might be, and they'll bid for the jobs. They'll get the jobs, and then they will now send them to come down to any location in Anambra State and do whatever. If it is profiled for 100 million, as an example, they might decide to do something of 20 million. After all, they are not submitting any document to the owners of this project, which are the constituents. So they are not the ones that the money go to as it should. But if you know the Nigerian way, it actually goes to them because they are the one dealing with the contractors. They are the one who know that there's an empowerment of widows. All of these are there, and this goes into billions. Even the widows that they went to empower, they don't even know how much is involved. So they don't tender any account to anybody. So it's a whole lot. But for the question, they are not the one directly executing these very projects. There is ministries, there are departments, there's agencies that are in charge of executing, but they are the ones in charge. So we know that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Please, while we wait for Dr. Amadi, please do well to retweet the space. Let's have more people join this conversation. And while we do that, Lucky, Chidi, let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. Given your experience in Anambra State thus far, what do you think? How can you help us to understand how other states can adopt the same thing, the same method to get to approximately the same result you've gotten to thus far? Because it seems to me right now you have made the senators representing Anambra State to be very much aware that the people are watching right now. And I think that's a very good achievement thus far. Can you help us to understand how we can push this concept to different states across the federation so that people can easily adopt it in different constituencies? After
Yeah.
all, this is federal funding for the constituents.
It's really simple. I won't take long on that. Yes, when you start something from where we started, we have our hiccups and all of that. But people that are going to adopt this is going to be much easier for them. The thing is that the constituents anywhere in Nigeria will like the value proposition, which is them being included in participating on these very projects, because a huge amount of money that is being budgeted in all of this and is not translating to anything in the local communities. So if somebody in whether in Oshun, Lagos, Kano, they might decide, things work differently at different locations. But the important thing is that people always buy the value proposition. The fact that the details of the project that have been earmarked for them in their local communities is not brought before them, and that they should be involved so that they can also contribute by, whether it is go and clear bush, they will give them money, whether it's to go and bring blocks, or they will participate. There's a lot of what do they call them, cooperative societies that are that is registered in different local government across Nigeria, which are looking for business. Meanwhile, there's a business that federal government is already providing for through their intervention to all of these places. So I believe that every state in Nigeria, if they adopt this by simply calling up their constituents to ask about the details of their project, that is just direct. Ask for the details of these very projects. They will be reluctant, just like the lawmakers in Anambra State are reluctant to release this, but eventually they will have to release it. If not, the constituents will move for a recall, because it is is what belongs to them. It's like you buying somebody a car and you are not giving him the documents of the car so that he can drive it legally. So that's why we say it's fraudulent. Something that is not transparent should be called fraudulent activity. That is what is happening. So for other states in Nigeria, it's simple that if they wake up one day and decide that they want to become an active citizens, because active citizen is not just about Anambra State, it's about the whole Nigeria. Look at what is happening in the recall of this. I don't want to digress of Natasha. We see what is happening there. So, but this one, if championed by the constituents themselves, with the value proposition that that money we are talking about, those billions that they are saying has been allocated to them, it will start reaching them. That is the value proposition. So if they told that line, selling it to the people, they will wake up, because they in the local communities, they want to join and do this, join them in that in whatever intervention project they are doing, and make money out of it, because it is all about money. Whether you are constructing a maternity home, people will join, they will make money, whether they are artisans. But now what they do, because they don't want people to know how much is involved in the project, they will contract somebody from Abuja. Even the artisans will be imported, not the local community again, because they don't want the people in the community to be involved. Somebody who is learned and is involved at the local community, we want to know how much the project is worth. But that's why they are not bringing them along. So I believe that every community, every local government in Nigeria can actually activate this using the value proposition that is coming out. That is, can activate active citizens over there using the value proposition of the zonal intervention project. And by the way, we are not the active citizens are not the first people that initiated this in the first instance. Some other people have tried. There's a gentleman I had a discussion with earlier today. I think he reached out to me either yesterday, some days ago, and he said that in 2015, the same cry we are crying, he cried, and he should be here. I think his name is Peter Ekweme. So if he's here, I will want him to say what they went through and how they advocated for this to happen since 10 years ago. But now, I mean, he's happy calling me to tell me that he's happy that the group Active Citizens have taken up this and has gone beyond what they even did in 2015. So his name is Peter Ekweme. It's Barrister Peter Ekweme. So if he's here, I mean, he can also share his own insight on this.
Yeah, I have been scanning for him as well, but thus far I haven't seen him here. And we're still waiting for Dr. Sam Amadi as well. But while we wait, I see UC
Can you
Maxwell.
check? can you check whether he's the one that is Barrister Juliet? I don't know if he's the
No,
one.
no,
There's
no.
one.
Barrister Juliet is a female. It's a female lawyer there. You don't know Barrister Juliet. Well, you will hear from her in a bit. Hopefully, if she comes up as
Okay.
well. For now,
Okay. Let me check his handle. His handle. Just a minute. Where is Peter? I think it's Peter. Peter. Just Peter. Wait a minute. I'm trying to scam
well, it's okay.
his.
You can mute your mic and do that. Okay, while we wait, while we hear from you.
Okay, is this thing is quintessential gentleman
All right, he is requested right now.
at
Hold on.
po underscore Ekweme. Yeah.
Right, he's coming up. I'm bringing him up. Just give him a moment. You see, please hold your
Okay.
thought there. I really want to hear from you too. Okay.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't. And also, if you can reach out to Shegun, Mr. Offiang, I think he has a more in-depth data analysis of other states, especially the one coming from Senator Babio's, that is the Senate President's constituency, which goes into a lot of billions. So, if Shegun, Mr. Offiong is here, can you also, make him a speaker so that he will tell us
Um,
what he saw?
No, I think that is going
I'm
to be a
here.
separate conversation entirely. So
Okay.
don't worry about that.
Hello.
Quintessential gentleman, please mute your mic for a second. Thank you so much.
My name is Peter Ekweme. My name is Peter Ekweme.
Oh, Peter Ekweme, good to have you on the space.
Yes.
Yeah, Chidi mentioned you that you'll be able to shed more light on the
Yes.
conversation. So go on. Let's have
Yes.
your thoughts, please.
Yes. Thank you very much for that sound delivery. I
Can anyone
think
hear him? I can't.
Peter Development Foundation. I'm from Anambra South. Um, and I'm very, very familiar with what Chidi is talking about, what Mr. Chidi is talking about. It's a very sad situation. And I've been frustrated for years and have been wondering how we are going to get out of this political mess we found ourselves in. Until so when I came across actual active citizens, I had to reach out to Mr. Chidi, and I was very happy that it's happening in my own state, Anambra, because I'm from Anambra South, and over 7 years ago, I created a youth association, Anambra South Senatorial District. One of the major aims of that organization was to create a corporate platform for the young people from Anambra South to come together and ask tangible questions and demand for accountability, you know, by the way of open accounting, open audited accounting, like Mr. Chidi has talked about. But what we found out was when we started engaging with the elected leaders in the National Assembly, we came to understand that the system is wired to protect them. And because they are the ones that are making these laws, they created a perfect um, puzzle like, to always lead you off when you're trying to keep a track of them. And I know that one of the tools that they used against us, was always not being available for conversations. I don't know if anyone can hear me. Is everyone hearing me,
Yes,
please?
yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. So, so several times we would, I mean, I know we wrote requesting to see them, and they didn't write back. We wrote reminders again, they didn't respond. And at some point, we brought in Anambra Broadcasting Service, which is Anambra-based radio and TV stations. We brought in their crew and we started visiting their offices randomly. So we were able to get about two out of the entire elected officials, elected representatives of Anambra South at the time, only two of them. And these two gave us, not a very fantastic audience, and then promised us that their aides were going to keep up with us to keep us abreast of developments. Because one of the things we also asked them was to for us to know the youth development agenda and programs they have at the time. But that didn't happen. They didn't get back to us. All efforts to reach them was totally avoided, and it was frustrating. I also recall that there was a time when the N Power project was on, and I had expected it was our expectation that the representatives from Anambra South were going to, give these N Power slots to people who are from Anambra South. So we tried to keep track of the people they were giving the N Power slots, but we were blindsided conveniently. Matter of fact, I personally believe that a whole lot of them sold those slots to non-indigens and people who are not entitled to it. And so it has been very serious frustration, not just for myself, but for everyone on the organization. And so I think that what Mr. Carlo and Active Citizen is doing now must be very encouraged, because for a very long time, I see our young people glued on the phones and stuck on social media as while things go wrong. I know that most of them don't find politics very interesting because of how politics is offered or presented to them. And so, my organization is acting as a think tank or playing the think tank role in developing the political presentations that will appeal to the young people of our generation. Because there's attention deficit. A whole lot of the young generation are not paying attention to what's happening in the political space of Nigeria. And it is very important that while we are trying to keep the center accountable, hold the center accountable, we must do the same thing at grassroots level. Um, I am looking forward to why I'm very excited about this is because with what I have done and what my organization has done and what active citizens are doing currently or is doing currently, I am very certain that we will be able to sensitize the grassroots to the point where they understand that when people come together to demand and curry votes, that the money they spend from year to year for 4 years is actually their money, and that are entitled to open accounts. It is my hope and excitement that now I know that everything that we've always wanted to achieve is possible. And why I can also understand what's happening with Mr. Kanu when Mr. Kalu mentioned issue of some people thinking that whatever you're doing, any kind of good governance advocacy is targeted at them, is a very funny story, which we've also experienced. The reason why a lot of them feel that way is, of course, when you look into the leadership of your zone, if you're looking into the leadership, these leaderships are made up of human beings. They are individuals with names and faces. So it's basically you looking into activities of an individual. So if you look into the activities of that individual and you find out that there's something amiss, and you come out to speak openly about it, even the people at the constituency level might argue that you have a problem with this individual, that if you have any problem with regard to it, it is a problem, it's a challenge. And this is the reason why during when we started, I got through and I said to myself, look, we need to organize that it's very hard for the persons outside to know who is in charge. Because they're definitely going to think that that's the person that is bringing on the assault as they may perceive it. And so it is very important. So to bring it to a conclusion, I fully agree with everything Mr. Kalu is saying. I'm validating everything he's saying. I'm also stating that what he's doing is something that is very achievable, is a cause that is worth engagement, our time and energy. It is a direction that if we go, we will see the glimpse of hope again in the democracy we have in Nigeria now, which is a total collapse at present. So I also, at my own capacity, I've promised him that I'm not just going to be uh, just a mere member of Active Citizen. I'm going to be in the forefront. What he has done in Central, I am willing to partner with Active Citizen to make sure that my people at Anambra South get the benefit of governance through this approach. You know, recently my organization carried out a medical outreach in Anambra South in about 6 locations and um, across Anambra South. That was in 6 days, and it's recorded quite a large number in thousands. And what we found out, our discovery was heart wrenching. You know, sometimes I think what that medical outreach did for us was that it provided a measurable state of impoverishment that our people are going through. And if you also get this information, it will make your heart bleed. The people at grassroots are not able to access basic health care. I am talking about somebody who has high blood pressure, knows that she has the high blood pressure, but she's not able to go to a medical center because she doesn't have 1,000 naira to even eat. And so, so many of the people that we encountered during this medical outreach move around with high blood pressure not unnoticed. A whole lot of ailments, people that have lost their eyesight are gone. It's just their is it has been badly damaged that is irreversible, but they were not aware. They move around. And so, if we're able to achieve this, or if we're able to pursue this goal, what we are going to do is we are going to remove all the systemic obstruction that have been stopping the people at grassroots, the vulnerable, from having access to the real benefits of governance. So, thank you very much. My name is Barrister Peter Kweme, like I said.
Mr. Peter, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the Active Citizen Movement platform space today. And it's really good to have you on board, helping to push ahead to make sure that the people at the grassroots they really eventually start to feel the essence of real governance in terms of real service delivery by our elected officials. We are still having difficulties getting Dr. Sam Amadi on board here. So I really cannot say exactly when he will be able to join us. But nevertheless, we will still continue.
He just spoke with me now. He said
Okay?
he's headed towards Arise. He is headed towards Arise News. Once he gets into the building, he will connect.
Arise TV, you mean?
Yes, yes, Arise TV. He's going to Arise now. He said he will join once he gets there. Then
Okay.
somebody else said that
Did you give it a time?
yeah, he said he's
Did he give you
close.
an ETA?
Yeah, he said to give him small time that he's close by there. That he's sorry. that he will just join in a moment. Then somebody also sent me a message that the audio output is quite low. Can you look at that also?
I'm not so sure about that.
Was
I
it?
think my audio and I heard Peter pretty well. So well, let's have Barrister Juliet join the conversation and see if the audio is bad as you suggest. Barrister Juliet, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's have your thought, madam. Thank you.
Good. Good evening, everyone. And so, what are we addressing the topic in question, or we are just wanting to?
Yes, yes, you can address the topic or the points that the speakers thus far that they've raised. And please,
Okay.
from a legal perspective, you can help us to understand more about the constituency projects, possibly how they are put together at the National Assembly, the funding, how they are released, because this is valuable information for we the citizens to know. We don't get to read it every day in the newspapers, and of course, the mainstream medias will not break these things down to us. So we count on legal minds like you to help us understand the legalities behind it. Go ahead, Barrister Juliet. Barrister Peter, please mute your mic while we wait for Barrister Juliet. Please go ahead. Go ahead,
Good
Barrister
evening.
Juliet.
Good
Thank you.
evening once again, everyone, and wonderful and insightful conversation so far because I've been on space very at the very beginning. So, Uh, I would first of all address the issue of legislative accountability. Before then, I tie it to how the citizens can then show forth their activism by participating in everything that concerns governance. With respect to the constitution and with respect to what we're talking about, constituency project, even before I ran for office, this was something that it's been something that has actually troubled my mind as to what part of the section, because all through my 5 years in the university undergraduate studying law, there was never a point where we read the constitution and found anything such as constituency projects or the project doing or allowing the executive perform as implementational functions. I've never seen it, and being a practicing lawyer, it's even difficult to find. I think it has become a modus operandi in the legislative house for them to come up with such way of doing things, and it was so interesting to me that I wanted to also understand how this thing come about, because like they say, experience is the best teacher. And that is why when people get voted in, you hear conversations like this one is a newcomer, the others are experienced, there's hierarchy, there's also the seniority when it comes to the legislative house in the nation, because they will tell you need to learn the rope. If you notice some conversations amongst this whole buhaha going on right now in the national assemblies, we are hearing this one is a newcomer, this one needs to learn the rope. So these are some of the things, but we all know that this learning the rope shouldn't even be that difficult, especially when you're performing your legislative duties. And then it brings me now to the question, what are the provisions in our constitution that actually states what the legislative duties are all about? And this thing is very easy. It's contained, it's easy to see and find. It's actually contained in section 88, 89, section 128 and 129 of the Nigerian constitution. And it just talks about the main duties or how they can go about investigations when it comes to, because okay, first of all, section 4 gives the legislative powers. They are to actually make laws, and that's their most paramount duty. Now, you cannot be able to make laws without serving as a check and balance to what is going on in the country, and how you can be able to put an eye for appropriation uh of of how you can put an eye to check what is going on in terms of finance, budget, because they are the ones responsible for passing these bills, the appropriation of the budget yearly. So they must actually have means for watching and knowing what's going on, and that's what now brings to bear section 88 and section 89, because there needs to be investigation. You can't just sit in the national assemblies without having eyes on the various agencies, more of like the parastatals or the workings of the government, of the executive, without conducting investigation. And that also gives rise to the committees. So now these committees were set up so that they can be able to break down their duties. Now, you cannot have everybody doing everything. One person cannot be monitoring women affairs, agriculture, and all that. It has to be segmented so that they can perform their jobs diligently and effectively. And that was the reason for institutionalizing or setting in place these committees. Now, these committees are to conduct investigations in order for them to know what is going on and be able to put the executive to check. So when we talk about constituency projects, it's something that how it was introduced is still something I cannot be able to speak about, because it is not even right for even the executives to be performing for the legislative to perform executive functions. The executives already are to provide for, it's all in the constitution. Section 5 pertains to the executives, and I wanted to talk about this point, but I think it's now I shouldn't necessarily state this. I think Nigeria has come to a point. I wanted to say this at the second verse of my conversation, which relates to active citizenship. I think with what is going on, it behoves on the government now to mandate a compulsory study of the constitution at the primary level, even before the tertiary level. This being the case that Nigerians do not understand what is going on, so we fall back to the mainstream media, and we already know the mainstream media. As lawyers, we are made to understand. I know this is not something that for the public to easily understand, because that's why they say learned men and laymen. It's not easy for the public to understand this, but I will break it down. Usually, we are taught to understand that the media should even be recognized as the informal fourth arm of the government, whereby they're supposed to have an oversight view of what is going on and be able to have freedom of information to pass down to the public, because when things get too much, distraction is inevitable. So they are meant to focus and bring out issues. Now, we already know that the mainstream media has been politicized, and whoever's pocket is filled can actually go and sit down in the media. And that is why when you hear conversations about having money to be able to go take a spot in various media stations, ordinarily they are meant to actually estray issues and not take sides based on who is funding them or who is going to give them licenses. They are meant to be neutral. They are not meant to be bought by the government in power. But what we see today, I will leave that. So therefore, it now behoves on there must be in place compulsory study of the constitution, so that the Nigerians for themselves can be able to appreciate their rights. Because the main function of the constitution, it's our Bible, it's our groundnum, and without the people having a knowledge of each and every word, not necessarily, you must not necessarily be a lawyer because by virtue of reading it. So when someone says it's only lawyers that should understand the constitution, that's false. It is necessary for our livelihood, it's necessary for our living, because as it is today, we cannot be able to challenge the status quo without having a deep understanding of what you're challenging. Now, if the people are aware of their right, they understand that Section 4 gives their legislative power to make laws on their behalf. And then Section 88 and Section 89, which relates to the National Assembly, gives them power to now conduct investigation. And therefore, when you talk about advocacy and activism, we should even see it on the floor of the House. But when people now are getting booted out, suspended for challenging the status quo, then we should now understand that our legislative is even captured. I don't think we need to even start making write-ups or writing a lot of things. Even the citizens, even those in primary, secondary, should even start conducting debates, national debates about what is going on. Now, we should not even now make it look as if it is Senator Natasha issue or a Senator Akpabio issue. We should now make it that what is actually the reason that is making the senators set up a seat and suspend someone for 6 months. That already tells you that there is no room for advocacy. And with things like this, it's now difficult for you to now express this whole point to the layman, because the layman does not even understand that Section 4 gives rights for every senator, every House of Rep, and every State House of Assembly to even stand up each day, that the taxpayers' money they are being paid for is to stand up and legislate. That means your mouth must run. The taxpayers are paying you for your mouth to run on their behalf. They are paying you their taxpayers' money for your brain to research, not to go there and sleep. That is why it beats my imagination when we send people who do not even understand how to read into the legislative house. It beats our imagination. I think Nigeria has gotten so synced. It has sunk itself so much that how we can be able to redeem ourselves from this catastrophe is going to take it's going to take a lot. Because right now, for me, in this conversation, I think the one thing that I would say we should take home is how we can advocate a compulsory study of the Constitution from the primary school level. So now, if they are studying social studies, if they are studying government, if they are studying history, they must be able to appreciate Section 33 down to Section 46. And this already tells them of their rights. Now, these rights now will make them be able to understand what the legislative jobs are for. So, like I said, on this constituency project should not even have come up in the first place. It should have been about making laws and making laws entirely and checkmating the executive. Already, what happened on the 25th of February, which was this is yesterday. Yes, 25th. Please correct me, Mr. Tony. 25th was yesterday, right?
No, today's yes, it's yesterday. Yes, today's
Good.
26th.
Already, what happened yesterday in Nigeria already shows it's a terrible state. And I think I tweeted about it. It's shocking. Before now, the NBA, I've been a member of the NBA for since I even left, was called to the bar. There is no year our branch, Unity branch, do not conduct a conversation around judicial reform. What we saw yesterday by a judge recusing himself from a matter that should be dealt with timeously and expediently is already a flaw and a spit on our constitution. Because section 4, section 4, subsection 8 already tells us the judiciary is a close eye that monitors the legislative. So if the judiciary now start recusing themselves when they need to deal with an issue timeously, there is an alarm. People need to start going. It's now very ridiculous. I think Nigeria has gotten to the point that, yes, we are tired. We are tired of speaking, but we cannot get tired of speaking because the more we keep quiet, the more it keeps sinking. And that is why I also made a statement recently this week on electing the public that young lawyers should not remain silent. Because what is going on in Nigeria is that a lot of young lawyers have gone into private business. And this is wrong because the advocacy is sinking and getting like the lawyers were meant to stand as a shield around the judges. So now when we have conversation, the NBA was meant to be our voice. And we already see that the NBA is already doing their part. But what will keep and propel the NBA, that's the NBA on its own, that's the seat of the NBA across branches and the presidential seat, is the lawyers who will continue to speak about these issues. They are the shield, they are the armor against in favor of democracy. Now, when we keep seeing our young lawyers taking several seats back, it's already telling on us. Because once these old people die and go, the young ones will come up. And when there's no advocacy in the system, what do we have? It's going to be a destroyed. No more collapse. I don't think we'll be using the word collapse anymore. It will be frantically destroyed. So what I'm trying to relate our minds is that we as Nigerians should start picking our constitution and start appreciating it. And therefore we can now start having active citizenship participation. Because we are not going to be questioning section 4, which gives the executive, the legislature, these powers, and section 4 sub 8 gives the judiciary the powers to be able to serve as a watchdog on the legislative and as well as the executive. And what happened yesterday, like I said, is already so alarming. It's not a time for a judge to start recusing himself. It's for a judge to deal with decisively on the matter before him, and which is either you're going to be taking precedence on restating the fact that not more than 14 days should a senator or a legislator be suspended on breakdown of laws when it comes to their order. Their order cannot be above the constitution. Your job is to make laws. Your job is to advocate. And a decent judge, a judge who knows his or her onions, will be able to now sift the wheat from the chaff and say, on the basis of direct interpretation, based on section 4, we are supposed to have people who are advocating on the rights of the people. And once they see that, it can be overridden. The constitution now will override the provisions of section 6, which they are talking about seats or notice. We are talking about an issue here where this person has already alleged that her motions have been dropped, and her reason for being in the legislative house is for her to advocate on the rights of her people. And not just our people, Nigeria in general. Because once Ajekuta still gets to function, it's going to favor Nigerians. What Nigerians have failed to understand is that we have over-tribalized everything, and we feel that every legislator are just going there to just represent their constituency. You're not going to just represent your constituency. You're also going to represent Nigeria as a whole. Because across across the provision for section 4, 5, and 6 already talks about the federation. And the federating powers are in the National Assembly, even before the State of Assembly. So when you come forth as a person and say Senator Natasha or whoever, or Ningi or whoever is first representing Kogi State, that is wrong. Because according to the powers given to the Nigerian government, the National Assembly has a power to play for the Nigerian people. And the first power is the issue of making laws, and that we must continue to respect. So I think at this, I don't want to overlabor us with conversation or our minds. But like I said, reference should be made to section 4, 88, 89, 128, and 129. And then we can now be able to appreciate the true functions, legislative powers given to our legislators. And the powers to make laws are also contained in our exclusive list, which is in our part 1. And then they can also make laws with respect to the concurrent list, which is in the part 2, which is the concurrent list. And the concurrent list is for both houses, the National Assembly and the state houses of assembly. And then if we want to start digging further, we are not talking about covering the field. Once the state house, when the federation have laid it to rest on a matter in the concurrent list, where the state laws will not be able to make laws, because that of the federation will override theirs, and it will be said that it has covered the field. And any other thing will be null and void or ultra various. These are the things we should be talking about in our secondary schools. Then we cannot be able to appreciate activism when it comes to citizenship. They need to be informed. And when we have children serving as housemates all over the country, children begging alms, children littered all over the country doing what I don't know. We even have broad daylight child labor going on in the country. A Marjorie system. How therefore can we have citizens as what is the hope of Nigeria? I don't think the world should be Nigeria is collapsing, the democracy. I think democracy has collapsed. What we are just trying to do is just to pick our pieces. We cannot have a sustainable country when our young ones do not even know and appreciate their rights, and they do not appreciate advocacy. I think that was the reason we all went to study law. I will say on this space, I read the 4-year course before I went back to read law for 6 years. That's 10 years as an undergraduate. Just because I wanted to participate in advocacy. We can't come out today and start seeing the debts in our democracy, and we will not speak up. A lot of people going to go and sell hairs. I know that the country is so bad, but right when you are doing your thing as a lawyer, even when you're doing business, I think it's time for us to keep speaking up, because like I said, we continue and we remain the shield of democracy. We may not be judges, but we know the onions, and the time has come for even citizens to pick up their constitution, and therefore they can now be able to appreciate this rights. I don't think we should then even be talking about constituency projects. It should be halted, and then they get back to book. If they want to quarrel every day, we know they are quarreling on our rights. It is not a bad thing. I don't think it's even something that we should be joking about. We should not even be laughing about it. If a senator stands up to say, enough is enough, we want a situation whereby child labor is eradicated. And we want to make sure that women affairs, NAPTIP, everybody come and answer to us. The committee set up. These are the things we want to amend this constitution and make sure that there are penalties. And then we start making sure that the government, whoever is in charge of those agencies, they do their assignment. Those are the conversations we should be having on the floor of the legislative. We know the laws are there, but what we want is implementations, and we want people speaking up about it. We don't want to only have the media talking about it. And another thing that has caused the death of democracy is access to law courts. While the media should have been doing their job, the judiciary should have opened their doors to people to be able to appreciate their rights and be able to appreciate the daily concerns, and the judiciary making sure that these rights are being exercised every day. But once you see that there's a backlog in cases, somebody has a court case with their tenants, or somebody's owed money, and then you see the case lingering in court, there's so much expenses. You are bribing this one. You are taking laws into your hands by involving the police. The police are going to go and lock up somebody. How will there not be death in democracy? But if the people already understand that they go to court, they already know that when they submit evidence, they bring out their plaints, their whatever is their claim, they put it down before the court. Whoever goes to their defendants, everybody goes to court and answer for themselves. Within some number of periods, the matter is already adjudged, and everybody goes home. There's a land placed on the person's account, or there's an enforcement against the person's properties, and things are sold, and people already get their judgment. Therefore, people will now be able to appreciate their rights each and every day. They don't need to be waiting for NTA to tune up. They already know that the judge and judges around this court are already doing their homework, and therefore will be able to have active citizen participation. But everything is gone. We need to now start overhauling. I think there needs to be a total reform, and this is what the conversations, like I said, we have as lawyers every year on judicial reform. I think I've been able to say one or two things about this issue. It's something that goes pari passu, the people right now and the government, because the government have done the destruction. It's time for the people to now wake up. Thank you.
Wow, Barrister Juliet. Thank you so much for that. That was a boatload. I was taking notes as you were speaking. You spoke from, ranging from law in social studies, simplification of the law to make it easier for everyone to understand, judicial malfeasance, and complete degradation of the values of democracy as it is supposed to be practiced. That's a lot. This gives me the impression that it probably would be necessary to have a separate conversation about the state of democracy in Nigeria, where we can actually highlight and talk more about all of these points that you raised, and maybe, just maybe, use the platform to enlighten and open our minds to possibly help young folks out there to understand what they can do within the sphere of influence to push things ahead. I'm pretty sure we'll have that conversation again. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
I,
Chidi, have you been able
I
to
want
reach Dr. Sam?
Yeah, Dr. Sam, he said he'll be joining in a moment, and I don't know if he's having difficulty, but he told me he'll be joining in a moment. And I just called him while our barrister ladies or when she was talking. But while we are waiting for him, there is a background on zonal intervention projects I want to bring to our attention. I understand it's not in the constitution, but there's something I want to mention, that the zonal intervention project, that we call constituency projects now, they were introduced in 1999, by Obasanjo, as we know. They were created by the executive to bridge the developmental gaps, decentralize, development, increase legislative accountability, and address localized needs. However, as we know, the initiative has been criticized for corruption, poor oversight, and lack of transparency. Now, if we look at the official ZIP allocations and budgetary evolution since then, from the inception, the constituency project funding has been fixed at 100 billion annually. This amount is distributed like 40%, which is 40 billion to the Senate and 60 billion to the House of Reps. So this thing is already there. It is not in the Constitution. But however, lawmakers has increasingly expanded their influence over the budget by inserting additional projects beyond these ZIP allocations I mentioned. This practice has grown over the years, blurring the lines between official constituency projects and politically motivated budget insertions. Now, this growing trend of budgetary insertions goes beyond the ZIP, which we saw what happened with Ningi 3 trillion, this thing, they are all insertion. Now, outside, apart from that 100 billion ZIP allocation, our Nigerian lawmakers has consistently inserted projects into the national budget under different categories, increasing the financial allocations to their districts. This practice has been going. It's not in the constitution, but it has been going on. And the practice has actually escalated over the years. Between 2003 and 2019, over 1 trillion was allocated for constituency projects, with many lawmakers securing funds beyond their official ZIP entitlements. Between 2009 and 2009 and 2019, we have over 15,859 projects that were tracked, but many remained abandoned, duplicated, or poorly executed. Now, let's get to 2024 budget and the expanded insertions in that 2024 budget. The lawmaker pushed the boundaries of budget insertions beyond all the previous years. I will tell you, now, we have 218.6 billion which amounts to about 1,777 projects in federal constituencies. Then we have about 176 billion for 1,308 projects in senatorial districts. Then we now have 212 billion for 1,150 street lights. Then we have 82.5 billion for 427 boreholes. Then we have 30.95 billion for 170 ICT projects. Then we now have 7.661 billion for empowerment of traditional rulers. Now, that is the insertions on this 2024 budget that we are talking about. Lawmakers has secured at least 500 million, which of course we know they come to television. Some of them say they even got more than the 500 million. Our own, I think, Tony Nwoye came on and said he got 250 million as the case might be. So there's an admittance that they did receive this outside of what has been mentioned. Now, budget padding and legislative influence. The investigations in this 2024 budget, that is the one we are saying that our people should leverage on, reveal that the lawmakers inserted over 53 billion worth of vague projects into the budget of all the MDAs. One particular agency allocation was increased from 2.7 billion to 22.9 billion. I can go on and on, but what I'm just trying to bring to attention of our barrister sister is that it's not something we should just say, oh, constituency projects you could. They are not. As a matter of fact, in 2015, the lawmakers moved to have it in the to put up put that where did I even write that thing out in 2015? They tried it. Okay, in it was in 20 okay in 2017 an attempt was made to pass a constituency project bill, but it failed. Successive presidents, even Olusegun Obasanjo, Muhammadu Buhari, and so criticized the zip system as corruption loophole, yet it remained part of the annual budget due to the legislative power over appropriations. So what am I saying? It's already there to stay. We are only saying that our people should leverage on that very something to get get the accountability, Abi, to let their people answer them based on those projects. Because whatever thing is happening on that red chamber or the green chamber, it is what the people have sent them out there to do. So if we start using the project that they are using as fraud to catch them, we can actually put a mass recall going around Nigeria, because we keep talking. So people call it 1 month ranting. What does that achieve? But we must go into the practical aspect of it. If we still toe the line of the active citizens using the queue of what we are doing in Anambra State, it means massively we can start talking about a massive recall, not the kind of fake recall that is happening with Natasha, but the real one, so that we know that the people has the power. That is just what I wanted to add.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. I'm really lost for words. I believe Barrister Peter is equally here, and you've been listening in all along, and you heard what Barrister Julia said, and actually what Mr. Kanu equally chipped in a moment ago. I was wondering if you have a thing or
Yes,
two to add to what they said. Go ahead, please.
yes, yes. I heard Barrister Juliet. She spoke within the context of the constitution and the legislative bodies, like the laws of Nigeria. But like I said in my earlier presentation, that you see, there's something that Jonathan said, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan said, the former president said a few days ago. You can't wake up somebody that's pretending to sleep. The ZIPs and the context by which it's presented is a very complex one. It's one that is wired to keep the legislators protected from the blame whilst they do what they do. So if you go by the direct legal context, you might not find a straight line that will connect the lawmakers straight to the zonal intervention projects. But the legislative accountability, I believe that what we're talking about is as to where it concerns the funds. Of course, I know that accountability goes beyond the funds, but for now, for the project funds that are not getting to the grassroots, where you can actually hold them accountable, or where you can find them culpable, from my years of experience, is singularly on the facts that if they are truly the representatives and they are very active in the oversight functions, they should know and they should have the information of every single project that is being carried out in their constituency. In the sense that if Ministry of Works has awarded a construction of a 10-kilometer road in a certain senatorial constituency, what that means is the senator in charge of that constituency knows, and if he claims not to know, the law says that he ought to know based on his oversight responsibility. He ought to know about this project. He ought to know about the completion, the commencement, and everything that has to do with the project, including the cost of the project. Now, where you connect the dots from what everything Carlo is saying is, because we are being practical here, where you actually connect the dots is when you call them and you write them and you demand to have the details and the particulars of the companies that are carrying out this project. That's where the trick lies. And that's what they avoid. That's what they will not give you. They will never give it to you. Because of course they know that if they do, you will engage directly with the company and then you begin to frustrate them. And by frustrating them, you're frustrating the senator or the House of Rep member that is the actual owner of that job. So it is not, I don't think that in the immediate that it's something that a constitutional review will fix. I don't think it's something we will have to look up to the same National Assembly that's profiting from the whole flawed system to actually fix. So what I've come to understand, and that was the reason why we created Youth Association Anambra South. My own approach is let's have the information of the contractors that are carrying out this project. Let us know how much. Give us every information. Don't worry about the oversight. We will handle it. We will mobilize the people at the grassroots to see the details of of the contract. Get to know what is being done for them. They have the right, for example, say you're bringing there's rural electrification project and they're bringing there's a project that is for provision of about 30 transformers for a zone. We want to know, we understand that it is not your company, the senator's company. We agree. But we are saying, give us the information that you have about this project so that we can approach the company, so that we can monitor and see the location of the project and see where they actually install the transformers. So it is something that we have to use. And by what we have done, and that also brings me to validation of what Mr. Carlo has been saying. It is a function of the people who have been sensitized at the grassroots who have been taught on how to ask the right questions, where to look. If you see the information, the facts and figures, and the statistics that Mr. Kalu has been reeling out, these are information that are not readily available in the media, in the space. These are not the things you just go into Google and pull off. These information that he has are highly protected. They're encrypted. You will know how far you will go before you be able to extract this information, and that's the reason why it's that way. So if think tanks from Africa, cause well, okay, if think tanks from across Nigeria and possibly Africa could come together and synergize and begin to pursue this information and bring it to public fora and make it very accessible, people will get to be more informed about the cost of their consistency projects. And I mean, just mere mention of these projects will make someone raise an eyebrow, and that will create desensitization. But then again, much I know in youth development and education, which is part of what I do, is that there's a greater job beyond just getting this information. There's a greater job, the greater task of creating a narrative that fits into the interest of the young people. If you are not able to find a presentation that appeal to the young people, you're not going to get enforcement, because everything that we're talking about now is something that a lot of people needs to bring their hands on board. A lot of people. I'm talking about for you to actually get to match the force of resistance that will be coming from these people that are benefiting from this whole flood system. You will need you will need very solid grassroots mobilization. I'm talking about in the numbers of hundreds, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, and possibly 1,000, calling out one House of Rep member or one senator to say, we need account on this. Don't ignore us. Don't walk it over. And also remember that while, from my experience again, while you're still trying to mobilize people to ask questions, at their own end, they are mobilizing too. They're mobilizing with propaganda, they're mobilizing with blackmail, they're mobilizing with looking for ways to destabilize the structure that you're creating to actually come out in the open and oppose or call them out and ask for accounts. They will always have their strategy. So, when and if we are able to get that, we first of all, there's deficiency of information, there's apathy of political interest in young people, um, and there is this issue of the fact that a whole lot of people in the media space do not have the boldness, do not have the daredevil mindset to actually speak on issues that they know that names are going to be called, and of course, you know that this country is lawless. So always be scared. People will always be, like, be skeptical to come out and speak openly and speak boldly. So these are the issues. These are some of the issues that we will have. Like I said, lack of information being available out there, and the way they protect this information. Two is uh, creating a narrative that will suit the younger generation. I'm talking about people on TikTok, people on Instagram, and people who naturally won't be interested in the political happenings or the political context of our society. And the issue of threats or physical harm when you call out people. And then the last one is being able to get the young people at the grassroots to be interested and understand the complexities, all the things we are talking about here is, I'll tell you, is because we are elites. An Okada man doesn't understand every all the grammar we are speaking here on this X space. So the question becomes, how do you bridge the gap and bring it down to the grassroots where people will understand that we need to get up and go. We need to join this movement. We need to ask questions. So these are the challenges I feel um, we have in the legislative accountability quest of our society. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. I've been trying to reach Sam. Is I don't know whether his engagement at Arise is has taken him so much. Is ringing, but right now, but it's not picking up. But he called me, say he was sorry that he's gonna join soon. So I
That's okay.
didn't
That's
know.
okay, Chidi. I think the best thing is we will have to reschedule. Obviously, his engagement at Arise TV got in the way. However, I must admit that Barrister Juliet actually spoke extensively about the legislative accountability part of the equation here. However, we're still going to continue this conversation, no doubt about it. So, but before we, because this space actually was not planned to go beyond 2 hours altogether with Dr. Amadi here. But unfortunately, like I said, maybe his engagement at Arise TV got in the way. We'll definitely reschedule again. But before we do call it a day, Barrister Juliet, I understand that you have something to chip in because I saw you raise your hand up earlier. Do you mind sharing your final thoughts with us before we call it a day?
Okay, yes, I just wanted to add to the point that Mr. Chris Essential said with the point he raised. Like, so even while at this, we should also add the point that the legislators also involve the state houses of assemblies who actually go also to pass their own budget from within to also approve the governor's spendings for the locality every year. So this also should be taken into consideration. So the people do not just focus on just the federal alone and then allow the whole mismanagement when it comes to state level, because there is a reason why there are tiers in government so that everything trickles down to the people. And then I also wanted to add the point of, also when we talked about the brilliant point of collective action and collaboration, yes, it's very essential. But I think another way we can go about it is if we can remove the issue of running for office. So, for instance, if I want to do something, don't necessarily need to put myself as a runner in that particular dealing with the people. So, whoever is collaborating should say it's not just about running for office or wanting to lead the people. It's about a going concern for us that if we do not deal with this issue now, it's going to all consume us. So, because I think most times growing up, I've seen that a lot of people do certain things with the idea that they want to actually go in there to lead. But when we come with a neutral perspective, we will also have people also garnering support with us, and then we'll be, because what these people are doing now, just like he said, is that they are actually mobilizing the people against the people, and we've seen that so far. In fact, it was alarming during the NSAS. That was where it even became very clear that there will be a people agitation against the people. So people agitating against their own self. So it's a strategy that whoever must have thought it must have been devilishly brilliant. So it's something we must actually come together to really address on the issue of enlightenment. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for
Okay,
that.
may I have another meeting by 9:30, and if I don't know if it's okay if I leave now.
Oh, absolutely. We actually bringing everything to a close. So you please feel free to drop off if you need to. We really do appreciate you
Thank you
coming
very much.
along, and we'll be looking forward to having you
Thank
more
you.
on this space to share your thoughts with us and what
Thank you
you're
very much.
experiencing on the ground. We really appreciate you taking the time
Thank
out
you
to be
very
here
much.
with us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
I'm grateful. I'm
You're very
grateful.
welcome. You're very welcome. And Barrister Juliet, I would equally like to thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. And I have taken lots of notes here, and I'm definitely going to build up on them. And I believe subsequent spaces coming up, I'll be asking you follow up questions because my primary takeaway from everything you said was a lot to do collectively. The question is, where do we start from and how do we go about it? My opinion is that we need to pay a lot more attention to the caliber and the quality of individuals we send to both the red and the green chamber. Maybe that is where we should focus more to start with because they make the laws. And that, in my opinion, is the weakest link in our democracy because we can easily question them. We have the power to recall them if we work collectively. No matter how difficult the recall process can be, it is still possible to do it. All it requires is just a bunch of active citizens determined to make it happen, working for a common purpose, and we will definitely get there. But the conversation will definitely continue. My sincere apology that we've not been able to bring Dr. Amadi today. Obviously, he has an engagement at the Arise TV that obviously got in the way, but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to reschedule and we'll definitely post again, and it will be such a beauty to have all of you back here. Magnific dude, I see you there. Thank you so much. Fatai, Odogu, sports diver, thank you all so much for joining us. Blue process or due process, you raised your hand a lot earlier, but we've not been able to hear you. I don't know if you still have a word or two to share with us, but otherwise, thank you so much for coming along. Tobe Nicholas, cool Jude. All right. Thank you all so much. And Chidi, thank you so much for what you're doing on the ground there in Anambra State. Please keep it up, and hopefully, by the time we come back together again, you'll have more information for us regarding what the way forward and what you've been able to accomplish further. Because it seems that you have ruffled some web feathers out there already with your activities. Thank you so much. And on that note, I wish you all a very pleasant evening, and thank you all so much for coming by on the Active Citizen Space again. We'll reconvene again as soon as possible. Please do well to follow the handle and turn on your notification so you'll be informed about the next space we'll be having. And of course, our conversation with Dr. Amadi is still going to happen. Please watch out for that.